Hey, what's up? John Sonmez from SimpleProgrammer.com. I thought I'd finally do a video on tattoos as a developer. That I get this comment. I've been wanting to do this video for a while. It's been sitting on my board, but I wanted to get a few shots of tattoo places in Pacific Beach since that's where I'm at, and there's so many tattoo places. And now that I've got this tattoo here, it seems like a good time to do this. You can check that out. It's not a real tattoo. It's of course like a fake tattoo from 4th of July. One of those, stick-on ones. But anyway, I thought I would answer this question and talk about this because I think there's a lot here that we could talk about in terms of image, and that's really what this relates to. So I basically got this comment on this YouTube video that I did. Let me see what it is. It was this video, When You're Living in the Past, which you can check out. Anyway, there was this comment that said, is it okay to have tattoos as a developer? If so, to what extent? Sleeves, half sleeves, leg, fingers, etc. And I thought this is interesting because I want to talk about this, a concept here about image and how to control your image, because I think this is really important, and that's what this really relates to. So, to answer, well, and here's another thing that interests me is I want to get a tattoo. So I'm thinking about where there's so many tattoo places in Pacific Beach. It seems like I need a tattoo. I don't have any tattoos. I'm trying to think about what do I want to do. I'm thinking about maybe getting like a full sleeve or like a half sleeve or something like right up to the wrist on one arm. That's what I'm kind of leaning towards right now. Maybe something across the bicep here. That kind of looks cool. But I gotta fit this. If you got some ideas of what kind of tattoo I should do, let me know. But let's talk about the actual topic here. So, as a developer, should you have tattoos? So here's the thing. I'm going to kind of answer this by not answering this, and then you can kind of answer it for yourself. So you have to really think about image. So if you are a person, let's take two different contrasting things. So in order to really be unique and to be balanced, you have to sort of be a contradiction. People are interesting when they're contradictions of some sort, right? When they're very much stereotypical and they're very much what you see is what you get, they're not very interesting. And you want to be interesting to some degree. You don't want to be necessarily a shocker, but you want to be interesting, right? People that are charismatic, right, have contradictions, right? If you look at really charismatic people, there's this weird soft yet hardness to them. There's this weird, passion yet solidarity to them. There's this weird contradiction. They're angry, but they're loving. They're right. They have anger love or whatever it is. You know what I'm saying? There's all of these kind of quirky type of things that are actually contradictions. And so what I'm saying here, what I'm trying to lay the base for, is this idea that let's take a person. Let's say that you look like an accountant. Let's say that you've got glasses, you look and you talk, and your mannerisms is soft-spoken, and you just you look really soft. You look like someone who's very nerdy, right? Then having a tattoo, a visible tattoo, could create a good edge for you, right? It could actually be a positive. Whereas now, in fact, let's not even talk about a tattoo. Let's forget about tattoos right now. Let's talk about how you dress as that person. If you are already look like an accountant, and you dress in a suit and tie to work, that's not good, right? That's going to make you seem even more stuffy, even more unapproachable, even more nerdy, right? What you might want to do is you might want to dress down a little bit. Maybe wear some shorts. Maybe wear like an Aloha shirt if you can get away with it, or maybe you see what I'm saying? You're playing the contradiction against that image because you already have that look, and so you'll be interesting. If you're the guy that looks sort of like an accountant, but he's muscle bound and wearing tank tops, or he's wearing these kind of interesting styles, right? He's looks really casual, even though his perception, you're going to be interested, and he's going to be dynamic and charismatic in appearance. Now take the opposite. Let's say that you look really hard, right? And I'm gonna cross some lines here, and I'm gonna say some ethnicities, right? You can look a little bit more tough or intimidating. Could be a bad thing, could be a good thing, right? I'm not passing judgment here, but I'm just saying, if you have a persona, if you don't smile very much, if you look like a tough guy, right? If you look like a tough guy, right, you want to wear a suit. You want to wear a tie. You want to come into work looking like an accountant, like sharply dressed and very studious, right? Especially if you had an accent, or especially if you didn't speak so well, right? You'd want to look the part. In fact, you'd actually want to change your speech, right? If you come in and you look a little bit thuggish, right, from your just appearance, and you've got tattoos on your face and stuff, you gotta like wear a suit to work, and you gotta speak perfect, eloquent English, right? Because that contradiction will work for you, right? So what I'm saying though is this, essentially, like, if you can build these contradictions in, if you can realize what is the image that you're portraying, what is your natural sort of image, and then you can dress the part or look the part or talk the part that's the opposite of that, that's a contradiction of that, what you do is you create interest instead of aversion, right? If you look like a thug and you act like a thug and you dress like a thug, that's not interesting. I stereotyped you, and then you ended up being my stereotype. Wow, that's awesome, right? I'm not gonna hire you for a developer job with your tatted up face, coming in here looking like a dumbass and talking like a dumbass. No. But that same exact person has a huge advantage, because let's say that you go to a job interview, you know, someone comes in the door and they've got a tattoo on their neck, right? And but you're like, oh, that's interesting. They are in a suit. That is a nice suit. That's like a Armani suit. And when they open their mouth and they speak eloquently, and it just flows, there's no kind of, you know, they just speak so nicely, so elegantly and cleanly. You think, man, this person is interesting. Wow, I wonder what their story is. I want to sit and listen to this person. They totally just blew my stereotype out of whack, right? And the same thing happens on the other side, right? If you had someone who looked like they're an accountant and they looked really soft, but they're like dressed really casual and they seem to have a nice self-confident talk, and you're like, this is weird. This guy, it feels like he's giving me this vibe, like he's tough, like you wouldn't want to mess with this guy, but he looks like this little scrawny mouse, right? You see what I'm saying? Like, these kind of contradictions can play for you, and they're important for your image. For if you want to develop charisma, you need to figure out how to take your existing image and then to provide a contradiction on top of that. Some of the reason, I think, why Simple Programmer, why some of you like my videos, is because you're like, oh, this guy's interesting because he's kind of a nerd, right? I mean, he's a software developer, but he's kind of buff, right? And he's kind of tough. But you know, I've got a few different contradictions probably going on, and some of this is intentional, right? Some of this, right, is that I want you to be drawn in, to say, I want to have that charisma. I want you to say, this guy is interesting. He's not the typical run-of-the-mill type of developer, right? And so you're more likely to listen and to be more interested in what I have to say in my story, right? And in my background, because it's diverse to some degree. So does that make sense? Like, do you see what I'm saying here? Is to have a tattoo or not is not the question. If you get a tattoo, you're going to have to compensate that in some other way, right? The more tattooed you up, the more tattooed up you are, and the more visible those tattoos are, the better off that you're going to be in a work situation by having, you're gonna have to dress in a suit. You're gonna have to look really sharp. You're gonna have to speak really eloquently, and then it'll be an advantage, right? But if you can't do that, and if you're unwilling to do that, then don't get a tattoo, because that's going to hurt you, right? Because it's going to just make you appear more thuggish or less intelligent or whatever it is. But if you have the contradiction going, it'll make you more interesting. So you got to think about that. And again, it doesn't, like I said, I don't want to make this just into the tattoo side, because it also plays an effect for those of you that have the other thing working for you. I think most of you probably have the other thing working for you, right? Is that, and again, like, if you are an accountant, if you look like an actuary, if you look like a scrawny typical nerd, and you get the right kind of tattoo that gives you a little bit more edge, right? That could be a good thing. That could actually make you look better, right? If you're already looking tough and you do that, it's going to make you look more tough. You're going to fit into the stereotype, right? So I don't know. I don't want to beat a dead horse here. I I like to beat dead horses apparently, but it's a complicated topic. But this is sort of what I have observed in the world. And if you look at people that you find interesting, I think you'll find a lot of contradictions in them, in their style, in their mannerisms. And so what I'm saying is that you want to create some of these purposeful contradictions and be conscientious of image. If you want to get a tattoo, think about what you have to do to compensate. First of all, think about what is your natural image, right? Then think about how will the tattoo affect that natural image? And then think about a third layer of now what will you need to dress like, talk like, act like, or do to enhance that image, to make it better, right? You're gonna have to, like, as you stack these things on. And you find that the most interesting people have lots of layers. You're like, well, that's weird because it's this and this and it's that, and you can't quite figure them out. You never quite can get a grasp on it. They don't fit into a stereotype. They don't fit into a mold, because those kind of people are boring, and we just assess them and we're like, okay, we're done. We know who they are, right? So anyway, hopefully I've probably offended so many people. I've offended nerds, I've offended, different ethnicities in this video. But you know what I'm speaking is true, right? I mean, I don't have to, what I hate is when people ignore the reality, right? I want to face reality. Like, this is real problem, real issues, right? And, I give similar advice to people that are, that face potential discrimination. And I'm like, well, if you're in that category, you should probably change your speech pattern, because you can use, and you should dress really sharp, because it's gonna help you, right? There's a lot of things that you can do to compensate, to throw people off, and you want to break the stereotype, right, as quickly as possible, right? As soon as you turn on this video, right, if you've never seen me before and you're like simple programmer and you see me in a tank top, bam, I've broken the stereotype instantly, right? And that's a good thing. So anyway, hopefully you like this video. If you feel like this could help someone, I think this is a video that potentially could, right? There's some people that need to understand this advice and see reality. Definitely share it, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. I'll talk to you next time. Take care.